All right, so hello everyone, and welcome back to this sixth session on on Microsoft Viva for the Canadian Cloud Summit. My name is Serge Tremblay. I'm your host for today, and I would like to welcome my friend Kanwal. He's a great speaker. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy what he's got to say about Viva Topics. So if you have never heard about Viva Topics, you'll be surprised what can be done with this. So Canwal, the mic is all yours.
Thank you, Serge. Big fan, big Serge fan. It's an honor to be introduced by Serge. Hey, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well. I was looking to see if there's any loop components within the chat, but there's not. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll dive into it. I do want to encourage and highlight to everyone that I do have a lot of content to share, about 150 slides. I'm not going to go through all of them. They are going to be shared and uploaded for later reference for you guys. Ultimately, the goal here today is to give you insights and a little bit of knowledge on how Viva Topics is being used, how customers are leveraging it, why you should be interested in it, and hopefully inspire you to take advantage of that as well. But I want to welcome you all to the inaugural, the first Canadian Cloud Summit event. Unfortunately, it is remote, but looking forward to hopefully next year being it being in person. Today's session is primarily introduction to Viva Topics. So if you're a Viva Topics expert, there are I am going to leave some time at the tail end of this discussion, this presentation, this session to talk a little bit about use cases and how customers can use this a little bit more. But we are going to cover the foundation, the basics around Viva Topics. And yeah, if you haven't heard me speak before, we haven't met in person, I want to welcome you all. I'm, kind of an introvert, but I love speaking, I love presenting, I love connecting with people. And I've been very fortunate to win a few awards throughout my time and my career. The one I'm probably most proud of is the Nielsen Norman Awards, which are given for the top 10 intranets that are adopted on an annual basis. These awards are a reflection not just technology, but also of user adoption as well. And I am based out of Toronto, so did want to call out that as well. Got a Drake reference there. Huge shout out to the sponsors for this event. Please make sure you I think this community of technologists and those that really love technology, we're a small group, so make sure you reach out to this group as well and connect with them, learn from the owners, the leaders, and the people that work there, and look at, see the services and products that they offer. So huge shout out to the sponsors for supporting the inaugural Canadian Cloud Summit. I think I've already shared a link in the chat as well. Submit your feedback for a chance to win $50 Amazon gift card. My assumption is that's Canadian $50, not US. But use that code. My code for this session is 310418. So make sure you do select that and share feedback. Whether you like the session or you don't, honest feedback is very important. You've got the chat, you've got the QR code here as well to share that. So let's dive right in. And I think what I want to highlight is ultimately what we're all here for, whether it's in the IT technology space or we're wanting to leverage technology a little bit more, is that we care about people. We care about the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis. We care about the people that we work with, and as well as those that work within our teams. So those employees, those that are trying to be productive, are there to grow, to develop. They're there to build communities. They're there to also, especially in the last 2 years, working on their well-being. And I think this session today is really focused around, if you look at all these different areas, a big part of it's focused around is knowledge. So we're going to be focusing on that today. We're going to look at people and experts. We're going to look at documents and content. We're going to look at projects and how they kind of come together to make the day-to-day better for employees. Now, I believe the session is meant to be 45 minutes, so I'm probably gonna be asked to speed up. So I'll try to speed up as well. But the discussion around knowledge and content is a big discussion, and there's a lot of different parts that come into play. Not just Microsoft Search and how you can surface up content. There's also a really good service product out there called SharePoint Syntex that you can look at. But today we're just going to be focusing on Viva Topics. So first and foremost, I think one thing to be aware of is that in terms of Viva Topics, it is a new product that's been released. I think it's only been about a year. And this experience is new. Even Microsoft is figuring it out. One thing that they do know is that they want to help you as an employee, as an individual, find a way to turn content into knowledge. You do that today already from a day-to-day perspective, but it's how to make that actually achievable, so that whether it's artificial intelligence or whether it's where the content's stored, SharePoint in general, how it can actually help you leverage and make that content usable. So that's one of the kind of the pillars of Viva Topics, is turning content to usable content or usable knowledge. Number 2 pillar is being able to organize this knowledge into topic pages. So we need, I think, essentially as employees, centralized or specific places to go to be able to see this content, be able to interact with it, and sometimes even to curate that content as well. So being able to organize knowledge into topic pages is a big area. And last but not least, Viva Topics goal, one of the pillars, is to make that content, that knowledge discoverable and easy to access, no matter where you are, whether it's through Microsoft Teams or maybe in this future world of Microsoft Loop, that you have easy access to these topics and knowledge that's within the organization and be able to surface that up. So that's kind of the goal here for Viva Topics. So we'll go into kind of the need for it. I think I first want to start with some industry trends and highlight these for you guys. I think across, let's just say the last 2 years, organizations in general are hiring like crazy, often in large numbers. I know we are, I know a lot of companies are, and I know a lot of us have this huge influx of new employees joining, team members that are leaving, but a lot of the new workers that are joining, they have existing knowledge and expertise that they want to be productive with. You also have employees who are leaving who have this knowledge, and you want to make sure that knowledge is retained as well. Another scenario that we're running into, a trend that we're running into, is people are working different spaces. Some are working remotely, some are working in little hubs, some offices, some are meeting, individually to just connect and learn. That knowledge that is being captured, we need to find a way to transform that. I kind of touched upon this earlier in the session as well, but just want to highlight organizations and teams in general are struggling with increased kind of employee turnover. So, and that's projected to get worsen. Whether you can attribute it to being remote and not having a direct formal kind of emotional attachment to the people that you work with, or whether it's because that we are remote, we're a little bit less reluctant to kind of just say, you know what, this is not working for me, I want to try another role. A lot of people are leaving, and it's totally understandable as everyone's trying to find their place. But that knowledge that they take with them is very important. And with new employees coming and existing ones leaving, you want to make sure for the employees that are being retained and are staying within the company that they're able to take advantage of that knowledge. Another trend that we're seeing, I think I heard this in November from Jeff Teeper in one of the Ignite sessions, was about 10 petabytes of data is being uploaded to SharePoint per month. I don't know if that number is accelerated, but it's a huge amount of data. A year prior to that, it was 1 petabyte of data that was being uploaded to SharePoint Online, and the number increased within a year 10x. And that'll continue to increase as well. So the amount of information that's being created is increasing. And users are starting to expect more and more modern user-centered experiences. I don't know if you guys have heard, last week, was it? Microsoft Lists was announced as a separate product for those that don't even have an enterprise license. And that's because there are scenarios where you just need to have a list and you don't need SharePoint and all the backend and complexity with teams that might be there. You just need a way to add, manage, and collect lists and activities that you want to do personally as well. So users are starting to expect more and more modern experiences. And one modern experience that we're expecting is that knowledge and that data to be easily accessible. All right, so a couple of industry trends just want to highlight for you guys. Next up is around the challenges and risks that we face today. These are kind of shared across when you look at Viva Topics for organizations. Three major risks that come into play: security, training, and there's a gap in terms of competency issues as well. A lot of people, when they're sharing knowledge, there's a concerns around, one, do the right people have access to knowledge? Should some of this knowledge be accessible to some people? How they access that knowledge and how they actually leverage it from a training perspective, and is the right knowledge being shared and discoverable with the right individuals as well? So making sure that's lining up properly continues to be a risk. So make sure you're thinking about that within your organization. Is security, training, and kind of skills alignment or competency alignment as well. As we kind of talked about, I want to kind of keep reiterating these points. There is a knowledge drain that's happening from people leaving an organization. There is also a huge increase, huge in terms of 10 to 15% of productivity being decreased because people don't know how to find or access that information. They're spending a day a week, sometimes a day out of their week to find information. And a lot of what ends up happening is this lost time adds up, where some of that knowledge that people are using on a daily basis gets lost. So you want to be aware that this is happening within your organization. This is happening within your teams. This is happening across a lot of teams as well. Having the opportunity and the fortune to connect with a lot of customers, a couple of things that we end up learning quite a bit is that the majority of them don't have knowledge sharing tools today. They don't have practices that are heavily integrated. Generally, email is a big area that still is adopted. People still use, even if they're adopted SharePoint Online, they're on Microsoft 365, they're still using email to share attachments and communication. But in terms of where knowledge is stored, so this is how people share it. Right now, a lot of organizations are dependent on email. In terms of where content is stored, a lot of organizations are storing content in SharePoint. SharePoint's become the de facto standard where organizations from engineering, manufacturing to even law firms are leveraging and using SharePoint as a place to store content. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only tool that they're using. I want to make sure that's clear as well. SharePoint's not the one and only place that they're sharing content. There are other tools and other files repositories like file shares where content is being stored. But that creates a challenge now as well. Since you don't have a centralized place where knowledge is being shared, it's disparate, it's across different sources from emails to SharePoint to file shares, it makes it a little bit harder. So when you think about the people, and in this slide, I want you guys to really focus in on probably these three scenarios here. These three scenarios make up the bulk of the challenges that people have. These are the scenarios, that people run into. Finding information faster so they can spend more time doing meaningful work. No one wants to spend more time trying to find information than actually being productive and actually adding value to the role that they have and the project they're working on. They want to increase efficiency, productivity, and work smarter by reducing cases of where they need to reinvent the wheel, meaning they don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. They want to be able to take advantage of something that's already been built, already been designed, already been captured, that knowledge, and to be able to share that. And then they also want a single source of truth. So these three scenarios really start driving on why you need to start considering Viva Topics to help you in that. So I think with my time, I'm going to skip through a few slides. As I mentioned, there's about 150 slides here that kind of highlight some of these scenarios a little bit further. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to unleash this collective knowledge. We want to be able to capture it. We want to be able to surface it up. And we also want to be able to run some processes around the information, that knowledge that ends up getting captured. So with that, the other thing to also highlight is Microsoft. If there are sometimes questions from customers where Microsoft might not be considered a contender or a leader, and something that we always like to encourage is heads up, Microsoft is doing a fantastic job as a leader across content services. In the Forrester wave that came out last year, as well as the Gartner content, the quadrant report that they provide as well. So let's have a look at some of these services that are available that kind of build to make Viva Topics effective. So to make Viva Topics effective, you've obviously need to have Microsoft 365 in place. You also need to have the Microsoft Graph enabled within your organization. I know there's a few government clouds and government customers that we work with that don't have the Graph enabled, or some engineering companies that don't have the Graph enabled. You do need the Graph enabled to be able to understand the relationships between the data and some of that content. From there, then now that you have these relationships and signals between different content, we then need to start looking at search as a way to surface up and be able to index that content. We also need to be able to respect security, compliance, and privacy. And then, of course, the tools that people use as well. So guess I wanted to highlight that Microsoft Viva Topics leverages everything that you're already investing and adopting within your organization. And if you're not today, these pieces are in place for you where you can take advantage of Microsoft Viva Topics. So if you're an architect, a solution architect, or even a technical architect, and you're thinking about, okay, how do these pieces come to play for Viva Topics? What you have today is you have basically topic cards. These are cards, and I'll share screens with you in a little bit. Essentially, these topic cards can be surfaced up in any sort of experience. They are based on the ACE component, so they're kind of cross-platform. They can surface up in Yammer, Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, Microsoft Loop in the future as well. And then in terms of where content or topics are stored and how they're surfaced, you've got the Topic Center, which surfaces up kind of all the topics that you might be interested in based on your interest and your Microsoft Graph signals. But each topic within an organization gets its own page. This page gets created by generally, there's a couple of different modes of Viva Topics. The topic page can get created by the AI that's driven by Viva Topics, or it could also be curated by your knowledge workers within your organization as well. So lots of opportunities to give the machines, the artificial intelligence engines, control over creation of knowledge and capturing that knowledge in your organization, or also being able to curate it and control it within your organization as well. I'll pause here if there are any questions around Viva Topics. I don't know if anyone's able to unmute or not, but generally when I've done this presentation and questions around security or AI creation might come up, but I'll continue if you guys are shy. All good. All right, so next up, we'll dive into, I think I'll probably skip over the content lifecycle, but there is a whole process around how content gets created, how you actually attribute metadata associated to it, and then how do you actually kind of feed that back into the content creation cycle. So there is a tried and true method of content lifecycle that you should be looking at taking advantage of. But I think it's probably best for me to dive into Viva Topics and dive into the actual screens and experiences that are available today. So I'll just skip over a number of the slides I have and focus on the ones that I think you guys are probably looking for. So if you haven't seen Viva Topics today, Viva Topics, both, I shared with you, there is a topic center where you can go, a SharePoint site, you can go and access all the topics that are accessible to you. And of course, in all, Microsoft fashion, there is a Teams application that surfaces up the topics as well. So it's really no different than your SharePoint page that comes up. So if you go to Microsoft Teams and you're able to add an app called Topics, it'll surface up. This is an example of an actual topic called SOAR. There's an alternate name specified for it because within an organization, there are certain, there's times where, I say SOAR, you might say sustainable operations and reliability. So there's relationships that you can create between these different words and topics for people. You do have the ability, on the topic page, you do have the ability to have a summary of what that topic is. This summary is generally generated initially by artificial intelligence, but just like any SharePoint page, you have the ability to edit and update what has been created by the artificial intelligence as well. And then next up, let me just scroll down here. Next up is you have the pinned people. So for each topic, it's going to leverage Microsoft Graph based on email communications, Yammer conversations, SharePoint and Teams. It's going to see that Mona, Miguel, and Colin are the ones that are generally the ones that are really talking about SOAR quite a bit. So it's going to highlight those people to you. And it's going to highlight and recommend other people to you as well. So from this suggested list of people, you can actually pin to say, you know what, actually Mona, even though Olivia and Cameron and others have been highlighted and suggested, Mona, Miguel, and Colin are the leaders or the people to go to for SOAR, for that project, for that topic within the organization that are the experts. So you do have this ability from this list of suggested people to be able to edit this page and make these individual people pinned versus suggested as well. In edit mode, you also have the ability to remove people that have been suggested. Sometimes there's a project and somebody's been talking about SOAR, but it's, I don't know, like a bird soaring. Really bad example, but they've just been using it in different contexts and they're not really a leader in SOAR. You can remove them from the list of suggested people as well. Again, the list of suggested people is AI generated and surfaced there to highlight knowledge and where knowledge is being captured and communicated. Continue on in that topic page. As you kind of scroll down, you'll see suggested files and pages. Again, this is across all the different SharePoint content, Microsoft Stream content. You also see ServiceNow if it is set up within your environment to be a data source that is indexed. All these suggested files and pages can be surfaced up as well and suggested to say, here's when they were modified, why they were modified, what the activity was, the view count. But hey, this is why we think it's of interest to you for the SOAR project/topic. And next up is we have questions and answers. So if you're within the organization using Yammer, fantastic, you'll be familiar with this. If you're not, totally okay. There's another product, another service provided by Microsoft called Yammer that allows you to have a little bit more open discussions. Usually Yammer is used for people that are outside of your circle of trust that you don't necessarily connect with on a daily basis, for, in this example, the SOAR topic. So Kevin, Ashley, Wanda might not be involved in SOAR, but they're interested, it piques their interest, and these conversations are surfaced up as well. So people can actually ask questions and get responses, not just for the people that are considered, suggested, or pinned to experts, but also people outside of that sphere, that circle of trust as well. There's a lot here, so I hope this is helpful. What you'll see at the bottom, as well as related topics. So we'll go into that, but an example of if you have questions and answers here and you want to dive into it, you can click on any one of these questions and interact with it. And you can also have, what you'll notice here is in Yammer, if you ask for a question, which countries are next for Project SOAR launches in 2021, what you'll notice is Viva Topics as a service will also interact and say, let me ask some experts, and actually automatically loop in Mona, Miguel, Colin, based on those that were pinned in the Viva Topics page, and see if they have any insights. So it actually encourages content discovery, encourages connectivity as well between the different teams. The topic pages, this is one probably view that I don't necessarily find as helpful, but I think I understand why organizations might find it helpful. Essentially, related topics is allowing you to see how other topics are connected and what their signals are and how close they are. I really do think that today this view is probably more beneficial for you to see how Microsoft Graph relates the different topics together than anything else. So, for example, SOAR is connected to sustainability. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you were able to edit this related topics and say, you know what, sustainability is actually not related to SOAR at all. It's actually Delta and Juno that are closer. So you're able to kind of manipulate and kind of massage how the AI understands, how Viva Topics understands these relationships. I don't see a lot of organizations doing that today, but I can see the benefit of it in the future. Next up is being able to surface up in the topic page communities and sites that are related to that topic. So YAML communities are surfaced up as well as related sites. Each of these, if you are from a SharePoint background, school of thought, each of these are components basically that are provided, web parts that are provided. And so what you can do is go to the edit page and configure and remove these from the topic pages, or actually have topic-based templates as well. So you can change the layout of these as well. A lot of organizations don't end up doing that we've worked with, but what they will find is that conversations around Yammer engagement or conversations really are around security and compliance and privacy that really come up. All right, so that was a quick kind of whirlwind around Viva Topic page. There are three key kind of scenarios here: identification, curation of a topic, and discovery of a topic. Is there any specific area that you guys are interested in spending a little bit more time on? We have about 15 minutes remaining, and I want to be mindful of that time as well. So to put a little bit of pressure on you guys to either put something into the chat or go off mute. If not, I'll end up picking something. All right, no worries. I will go to my favorite topic, and I think the most, what's the word? The most confrontational is the curation. I'll kind of go into that. So curation is one that ends up really getting people focused around security, and the biggest area topic into this. Good call out, Norm, in terms of what's the easiest to grasp. You're absolutely right. This session is not about which one's topic I might be interested in. I think maybe I'll start with, let me see here, discovery. I think I'll focus on discovery. Thank you, Norm. Appreciate that, bud. Let's focus on discovery. And as I was mentioned earlier, there are controversial topics we can definitely talk a little bit more about. And maybe after the recording's wrapped up and you guys are comfortable, we can speak about that. But ultimately, you know, when you look at Viva Topics, it's the employees that we're trying to benefit. So what are we trying to benefit? It's a discovery of knowledge, right? And this is ultimately the end goal that we're trying to benefit for employees. So there's a whole effort around identification and curation that needs to be invested into. And what I will highlight around identification and curation is you need people that are dedicated to this effort, whether it's knowledge workers, knowledge leaders within organizations, right? This is a new role that Microsoft and knowledge teams have been trying to identify within organizations. Sometimes they report directly to a CIO or internet teams, those that are managing and curating content. Identification curation is an area that requires investment. There's a lot artificial intelligence and Viva Topics can support with automating some of this identification of topics that are of interest and curating that content, but it needs support, it needs massaging, it needs the right amount of cycles. So assuming that is being taken care of, let's focus on the end users, the employees who are actually able to then discover it. So let's look at the ways they can discover it, and hopefully you guys see the benefit and value, and then are able to then go back and say, hey, we got to enable Viva Topics, or at least do a pilot internally. First and foremost is where can you surface this? Where can you see this? So I will go into all the different experiences here for you guys. First and foremost, not my favorite, but it is there, which is SharePoint Search. If you've got an organization that's highly adopting search in SharePoint, they can go into SharePoint and directly at the top type in a label, a name, and say, in this example, Mark 8, Viva Topics will surface up a topic card right there. It will actually highlight what the alternate names are. So if you think about the old generation of best bets, I think nowadays it's called questions and answers, like Q&A, but essentially these are curated now topics that knowledge leaders within the organization, internet leaders have identified, and it provides you a topic card here with the alternate names, the description, who some of the people are associated to it, and the resources. So right within the search experience, you're able to experience, discover, and kind of learn a little bit more about Mark 8, if that is something of interest. Much more useful, I believe, and I think, data continues to show, than directly seeing just SharePoint sites or just SharePoint files or just content. You have to be able to see this information kind of collected together. So SharePoint Search is a big experience investment. Topic cards are there that can surface up topics related to search terms that people are searching for. Next up is Outlook. As I mentioned at the beginning, a place where a lot of us spend a lot of time outside of Microsoft Teams, of course. But Outlook is where we interact, where we have a lot of knowledge stored. So kind of the first run experience is once Viva Topics is enabled within your organization, within your tenant, it will say, hey, welcome to Topics in Outlook, and I'll walk you through it. But you'll notice here at the top right, it'll show you topics that have been discovered and highlight those to you. And in this example, in this email, there's 2 topics that have been discovered. So you can bring that down, that little drop down, number 2, and it'll highlight Omega and Project Atna have been called out. So very similar to the people card, where you hover over Adele or Alex and you see information related to that individual. This kind of pivots that information, that discovery of that individual. It's less about the individual now, it's more about the topic, the knowledge that you're trying to gain. So this email included information on Project Atna, and it highlights a summary of what Project Atna is, people who are considered potentially leaders, and then resources associated to that as well. So that's surfaced up. Another great thing that I like with Viva Topics is that you actually are able to include a hashtag in your communication and surface up Viva Topics in your emails as well, so that when you're sending out an email and you're responding back to Megan or somebody else, and you want to loop in a project, a link to a Viva topic, you can do that using a hashtag. So that when you or somebody sees that message again, and you hover over that hashtag, the Viva topic, you're able to see the details around it, people, the resources. You can click on view details and actually go to the topic page as well. So that I think is a huge win, both the search experience for those that are familiar with SharePoint Search and be able to surface that up, and then of course in Outlook, be able to surface that up as well. So apologies on my demo environment, don't have Viva Topics accessible, so I just grabbed a quick video and share with you guys what that looks like in all its pretty glory for Microsoft Outlook. All right, this is a experience also. We were talking about the people card. when you hover over people and they've been identified as leaders, pinned people, knowledge leaders for specific topics, that will also surface up on their people card as well. So you'll notice here, right after phone number and the location, you'll see that Nestor knows Mark 8, signals intelligence, ethnia, and potentially even more topics that are of interest or things that he's considered a leader in as well. So essentially, I think Microsoft's doing the right things with surfacing up Viva Topics in the right places. On the Viva Topics app that we were looking at earlier, there is a home page where you can view a lot of different topics. So they show up just like a Instagram stream of topics for you in your enterprise. It'll surface up what are the recommended topics, recommended news posts, resources, and even recommended learning. So Viva Topics will surface all this up because it's knowing that some of the Viva learning within your organization is associated to some topics that you're interested in. So this stream becomes a place for you to gain, discover, and hopefully learn as well some of the knowledge that's being shared within your organization. Another example here is within Microsoft Teams. Wherever there is a topic that is being shared, you're able to then make that topic, Viva Topics will automatically make that topic clickable, or a card that surfaces up like this topic card here. And on-time delivery surfaced up. There's alternate names for it. There's people, resources, so that's surfaced up there as well. This is what it would look like in SharePoint. You've got internet landing page here, and there's a breaking news. We're proud to announce the release of Mark 8. So as a content editor on an intranet, you can actually reference topic pages and be able to have people discover those topic pages as well. So pretty cool. Same thing on any other content pages as well. I just want to show you an example here as well. Now, when you're chatting one-to-one sessions with people, sometimes you want to surface up topic suggestions. Again, right now they're leveraging the hashtag as a way to surface up topics within the organization. So if you're chatting with Patty, let's engage with Adele on Omega. And what you're really doing there is you're highlighting to Patty that you want to talk about Omega with Adele, but you're surfacing up what specific topic it is. So there's hopefully no confusion there. And then, of course, you've got that topic card surfacing up as well. So a lot of really good, clear ways for people to interact through Teams, through Outlook, through SharePoint, right there. Now, what are some other experiences that people work in? Word is an easy one as well that people surface up in. This is, excuse me, this is originally where Viva Topics came up before, I believe. I forgot what the original name of Viva Topics was, but this is where Viva Topics originally came up about 2.5 years ago, where they were essentially suggested keywords. First you had thesaurus, and then you had organizational keywords that you can also surface up were being pulled in. And that was becoming a really successful, a really good idea. And what Microsoft ended up doing was tying this up into a whole Viva suite scenario as well. But within Word, Excel, InfoPath, you have the ability to highlight or click on one of those topics and see that information right within the information pane or the search pane here. So a lot of great scenarios. I just want to kind of, share that with you guys first and foremost around Word, Excel. There are a few links that I'll definitely share with you guys so you can kind of review that. Some questions that I also included here. Questions that come up around pricing in terms of next steps. Is Viva Topics is available as a user-based add-on. As a user-based add-on, Norm, thank you. Great question. So you can purchase it either for the entire organization or specific individuals, specific leaders, or small core group as well. licensing is something that they continue to explore. We have been successful in a few scenarios where when the licensing didn't make sense or the price point didn't make sense for large or small org, we've been able to work with the content services team and be able to negotiate. So be aware that there is some flexibility. What the content services team really is looking for is adoption and usage. So if you're bringing a good scenario and a great use case, they'll be open to that as well. All right, I think that's it. I really want to make sure I didn't go over time, so I will kind of stop presenting, open up for questions, discussions as well.
You did great on time.
Tried to. We have tons of resources if you guys are interested in. Like I was mentioning, this session is meant to be like more of a 3-hour session. So if you guys want to bring your knowledge leaders to a call and spend a half a day together to not just learn, but actually go through some demos within your organization, happy to do that. Please make sure you connect with the sponsors. The community is lucky to have them to get this support. My name's Kanwal. Thank you so much for attending. And if you do have any feedback, please do share it. But more importantly, get that $50, I think it's $50 Amazon gift card. Forget the feedback, just submit something. And I hope you guys win.